In August 1947, the British withdrew from the Indian subcontinent, but the transfer of power came with a massive catch. The Indian Independence Act released 565 separate monarch-ruled territories, known as princely states, leaving them completely free to govern themselves. The immediate risk was a total geographic collapse. The subcontinent was on the verge of shattering into hundreds of independent nations, permanently fracturing the map. At the exact same time, the transition of power triggered horrific communal violence. Widespread rioting spilled into the streets, threatening to tear the region apart from the inside. Mahatma Gandhi provided the nation's spiritual compass, but his profound idealism, rooted in nonviolent resistance, was not the tool required to forcefully bolt a physically broken map back together. Jawaharlal Nehru provided the charismatic voice and forward-looking vision the new nation desperately needed. Yet, he too lacked the strict administrative discipline that the immediate crisis demanded. The necessary counterweight was a fierce, stoic former lawyer who preferred operating in the shadows. He didn't traffic in high ideals. He dealt in harsh realities. His name was Vallabhbhai Patel. Preventing the total collapse of the subcontinent required a specific, deeply pragmatic playbook, and Patel stepped in to execute it. Patel's first major strategic test came during the agonizing debates over the partition of India. Unlike Gandhi, who was deeply anguished by the idea of splitting the country along religious lines, Patel accepted the division. This visualization illustrates Patel's cold calculation. He recognized that a single, unified node would remain deadlocked by constant political vetoes and a spiraling civil war. Splitting into two separately functioning, actively governed networks was tactically superior to total paralysis. The fallout from that division created a logistical nightmare. Millions of refugees moved across the new borders, and Patel voluntarily shouldered the immense burden of managing the crisis, rapidly establishing emergency refugee camps and securing supply lines. When the violence reached Delhi and Punjab, his tactics were incredibly blunt. He deployed the Indian Army to restore order, enforcing strict curfews and authorizing shoot-on-sight orders to crush the rioting. He physically traveled to the affected areas, using direct, frank public rhetoric to confront community leaders. He explicitly shamed angry mobs, arguing that attacking helpless refugees was cowardly, and forced them to stand down so convoys could pass safely. By willingly absorbing the political heat for these grim, highly unpopular decisions, Patel allowed the fragile new government to survive its very first existential crisis. This map shows the scale of the task that followed. Spread across the landmass were 565 independent, disconnected data points, the princely states. His objective was to physically and politically integrate every single one into the newly formed Indian Union. He began with a soft diplomatic approach. Patel hosted monarchs at his Delhi home, appealing directly to their patriotism and urging a peaceful merger into the republic. To secure their signatures, he introduced the privy purse, a deeply pragmatic compromise. He offered the rulers lucrative financial payouts and guaranteed privileges in direct exchange for surrendering their land and entrenched royal power. The diplomatic offers worked for nearly everyone, but two massive holdouts remained. The state of Junagadh and the sprawling territory of Hyderabad flatly refused to join. When diplomacy failed, Patel instantly pivoted to the explicit threat and then the actual decisive execution of overwhelming military force. He decisively deployed the Indian Army into these holdout states. The military columns defeated local militias, forcing final accessions and ensuring the territory was secured. This precise balancing of highly lucrative compromise and brute military force literally forged the physical borders of modern India. Patel knew that drawing unified borders on a map was completely useless without a functioning administrative system to manage the interior. To solve this, he fought to establish the All India Services, a bureaucratic workforce including the police and administrative divisions. This system was explicitly designed to be politically neutral, independent, and incorruptible. He fiercely defended these civil servants against political attacks, even from his own allies, cementing his reputation as the patron saint of India's administration. He called this bureaucratic system the steel frame. It was the invisible, crucial architecture that held the newly unified states together and prevented them from fracturing back into chaos. By the time of Patel's death in 1950, The fragmentation of 1947 had been consolidated into a functional, contiguous republic. His dual legacies, the physical integration of the geography and the administrative steel frame managing it, form the literal foundation of the modern nation. It was his unyielding, systemic pragmatism in the face of impossible logistics that earned him his lasting title, the Iron Man of India.